My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome, one and all. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. I'm heading to the radio station, and on the drive to the radio station, I want to talk about what Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing here, okay? And Laura Loomer has been covering this extensively, and one thing I learned some time ago when it comes to Laura Loomer, and that's this. Laura Loomer is always right, okay? She is always right. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but it's true. Dark MAGA mode is engaged. Okay, good. Told me my door was open. I didn't know my door was open. Oop, thanks to the modern sensor. So let's talk about this a little bit because Laura Loomer's been posting on X about this and giving us some insight. Now, everyone knows Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Loomer used to be friends, and they're not at all now. And this press conference yesterday with the Epstein victims was pretty bad for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I did a stream last night about the victims' press conferences. While I believe the victims, some of them seem very traumatized. I'm really at a loss when I was watching it to understand the purpose of the press conference. And Laura Loomer has illuminated us a little bit a lot about what's going on here. I'm going to talk about Massey later on the main stream. Right now I want to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene because, there's nothing I hate more than MAGA people fighting amongst themselves. And the reason I don't like it when MAGA fights among ourselves is we have such an incredible movement, in the MAGA movement, and we don't need this crap to mess up our great movement with our great president that's doing so many great things. This war on drugs where he's actually using the military to take out the drug traffickers. That's spectacular. That's amazing. Who would have ever dreamed something like that was possible? And the war on crime where he's actually taking it literally. Everything that's going on. This is just the most productive and greatest presidential administration of our lifetimes. And there were two things about the press conference involving Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'm going to talk about those right now. All the streetlights are off. It is dark. Oh my goodness, is it dark? I don't know why all the streetlights are off. Now, one, I mentioned last night, this was very upsetting, that behind Marjorie Taylor Greene were all these fake paid protesters with fake signs that they did not make themselves, saying terrible things about Trump, the worst, all these liberal lies, and why she would allow herself to be in a position to be photographed and on television and online with Marjorie Taylor Greene with those signs behind her is really upsetting. She didn't have to stand there. She could have moved. Hold on, I got to tighten the lid on my coffee. She could have had them moved. There was one reporter who got out of control. Remember this guy? He wouldn't stop asking questions. And you saw Marjorie Taylor Greene say, "Get him out of here." She pointed to someone. So she had control over the crowd. She had a member of the press removed. So she didn't have to be in front of those signs saying those terrible things about President Trump. It was disgusting. The other thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene in the press conference is they're working with Gloria Allred, And Gloria Allred's daughter, who's part of the same firm as Gloria Allred, Gloria Allred's an old fossil. They just trot her out to be the front person, but Lisa Bloom, Gloria Allred's daughter, was working with these fake accusers against President Trump a couple years ago. Okay, so I mean, what the hell? Why is Marjorie Taylor Greene associating with these people? It's very upsetting. I mean, I'm behind Trump always. This is so important what's going on here. And every once in a while, we have some people who get into these petty things. And what Loomer, by the way, Loomer said she was going to make sure that President Trump saw the photograph of those creeps behind Marjorie Taylor Greene that she stood behind during that whole thing, and stood in front of her in the whole thing. But here's what Loomer said about Marjorie Taylor Greene, that Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to run for the Senate. She can't get Trump's endorsement for the Senate or the governor's race. She wants out of the House. She wants to be either governor or really senator. And Trump's endorsements for those spots are already taken. And what Loomer is saying is that she's pissed off Marjorie Taylor Greene that she can't get Trump's endorsement for the Senate race or the governor's race. So she's acting out. And all I know is Laura Loomer's always right. Never question Laura Loomer. I don't know why she's always right, but she is. And when she says these things that you've never heard before, no matter how crazy it may sound to you or impossible, when you first hear it, it's true. Now remember, Loomer was the one who broke the news that DeSantis was going to betray Trump. I couldn't believe it at the time. I didn't believe it. It was the one time I questioned her, and she was proven right. And I told her, I said, I will never doubt you again, Loomer, and because she's always right. And her analysis of Marjorie Taylor Greene is based on her insider knowledge of the whole situation and her sourcing. So you could take it to the bank. So, Marjorie Taylor Greene just, the question is she MAGA? See, Trump is MAGA. If you're against Trump, you're not MAGA. If you undermine Trump, you're not MAGA. If you work against Trump, you're not MAGA. You're to be MAGA, you must always support Trump. This presidential administration is historic and unique. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. Now, on the next stream, I'll be in the studio. I'll be taking live calls, and I am going to cover this. I'm also going to cover President Trump is saving New York City from Mamdani. Not that the New Yorkers appreciate President Trump, but he's going to save another blue city, and that's New York, from Zohan. And Zohan is freaking the freak out over it. So I am going to lead with that on the show this morning. But I am going to cover this press conference yesterday, too. And I do have some stuff on Massey involving his reasoning behind it that I'll get into on the show later. I don't want to get into it all now, but very upsetting. Very upsetting. This administration, this second term of Trump is so important. You just can't waste time undermining him. The attorney for the male attorney, because there were two attorneys, a man and a woman. The male attorney for the victims, he said, it's in the news this morning, there will not be a list. Yesterday there is no list, and he said the victims will not compile a list. So what the hell? This guy in front of me is swerving a little bit. You know, is he drunk? Or is he texting or reading his email? It's hard to tell these days, right? I'm going to stay away from him. Let him get ahead of me a little bit. Looks like a work truck, so not a guy coming home from a bar. So what do you guys think? One, yes or no, do you agree with me that Trump is MAGA, and if you undermine Trump or go against Trump in any way, shape, or form, you're not MAGA? I mean, that's how I feel. You know, and the thing is, no one wants perverts to run free that did terrible things. But as sympathetic as the victims were yesterday, if they're not going to put together a list or name names, and they were there so they know who the people are, how can you criticize third parties for not doing what the victims themselves won't do, that have eyewitness accounting? And not only that, a lot of them probably have eyewitness accounts of individuals that are the same as others, right? Because it was probably a lot of the same creeps around all the time. Now that guy, he's just checking his email or texting or something. That's why he was swerving. So, you know, if they won't compile a list, if they won't name names, you know, and, you know, this whole thing about Trump, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene said that Trump should bring the victims to the White House. You know, what's going on here with anti-Trump forces in Washington, you know, with the whole Epstein everything, is they're trying to get Trump's administration bogged down on that. Right? They're trying to get they figure if they get him intertwined in that and get it all about that, it'll slow down his agenda. Because see, they figure, well, this is a second term limits, this is it. If we can, they're what the enemies of Trump are doing in regards to this is they're trying to slow Trump down and get him tangled up in whatever they can get him tangled up in, booby traps, to stop his agenda. Like yesterday, he had a visit with the president of Poland, with the F-16s flying over and everything, and that press conference totally just took that out of the news. They had it at the same time. The planes flying over were during the press conference were for the Polish president at the White House. I think a lot of people just have lost touch with the importance of the Trump second term and what this means and what he's doing and what he has to do, and getting sidetracked on these other issues that have nothing to do with him or his agenda. And people say, well, you know, but what about these perverts? You know, that's not for the president to take care of, okay? There's lots of perverts doing terrible things. There's other agencies in government, you know, law enforcement, that are responsible for that. You're welcome to call me on the show today about that. I open to discussing it. I'm always open to other opinions on things. I shaved today because I've got a TV interview I'm doing later today. Thankfully, I didn't cut myself. If I've shaved, chances are I'm going to be on TV. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. With everything being said, you know, we all love Marjorie Taylor Greene, but what she's doing is just not the right way to go about it. I'm sorry, it's not. I think you guys understand that the anti-Trump forces are trying to slow down his agenda. I mean, President Trump has shut down the largest sex trafficking operations in the history of the planet Earth in both of his terms, right? Remember, in his first term, he shut down Backpage, where all the sex traffickers were advertising their sex slaves for prostitution. And shutting down the border, the southern border, he has stopped not just the traffickers and putting people into sexual servitude into this country, sex slavery in this country, which he put a stop. I don't know how many people he saved from that, but all the women that were being sexually assaulted on the way to the southern border, that's ended. I mean, he has saved more women from sex abuse than any other single man in history. So to call him these terrible things, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Anybody who does it cannot call themselves MAGA. I'm sorry. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And on the next stream, I'll be taking live calls, so you can call me on the air and share your opinions. But I don't see how anybody could disagree with anything that I'm saying. I can't believe it's Thursday already. These holiday weeks, my goodness. It's amazing how fast the weeks go. I've got a busy day. I've got the show this morning. After the show, I'm going to the radio station now. So I've got this long drive to the radio station. Got to do the show, the morning show. Then I've got to, after I get off the air, I've got to do some audio production. Then I have a couple meetings. Then I'm doing a national television interview, and I would like to do a podcast this afternoon. Hopefully I'll have energy left. I'm stretching myself too thin, but you know, it's good to be busy. If I'm not busy, I'm not feeling good. I like to be busy. I keep myself busy. Busy is good. Idle hands. Now, another thing, I read an article this morning, and this is a very disturbing article. Any of you guys know Little Tay? Little Tay used to be big on YouTube years ago. She was a little girl, and her mother got her this YouTube channel that went viral, and she was a little kid. I don't know how old she was, and she was all about how rich she was, and she was like a self-made millionaire, but she was like 8, I don't know. And I was reading the New York Post this morning, and she's an adult now, and I'm pretty sure it was in the New York Post this morning. She's made $15 million in the last 2 weeks on OnlyFans. $15 million. It's in the New York Post. I mean, what kind of message does that send to young women? My goodness. OnlyFans is one of the biggest sex slave shops ever. From time to time you'll hear these stories of women that are on OnlyFans, and they're basically being pimped out by pimps, boyfriends, or husbands. And some of them make so much money that their pimp, boyfriend, husbands, whatever they are, make them, I guess, live stream like I'm doing here every possible second, because it's a money machine, and they can't, there is so much sex slavery going on in this world. OnlyFans, do you agree with this, yes or no? OnlyFans should be shut down. OnlyFans should be shut down. It is, and sometimes I see some of these conservative influencers. Michael Knowles, I've seen do this more than once. There's even a new female, I forgot her name. The Daily Wire hired a new female influencer. I cannot remember her name. She's new, and I've seen a few others of conservative influencers, mostly guys. Michael Knowles, I've seen him do a couple times, interview OnlyFans girls, and I always find that creepy. I have zero interest in interviewing OnlyFans girls. First of all, you can't get through to them. I mean, they're, and I find it creepy. These guys that want to always interview the OnlyFans girls that are pretending to take some strong moral crusade against their evil doings. Frankly, it seems like they like to hang out with the OnlyFans girls. To me, I find it creepy. There's no need. There's no need to talk to them. But I think it should be shut down. And I mean, there are, I promise you, in this country and around the world, but in the United States, there are women that are being forced to go on there hours and hours every day, prostituting themselves. I promise you. I didn't realize how big it was until there was one case of an OnlyFans woman who did she kill her boyfriend in Miami and something like that? And I saw that in the news a year or two ago. And then you see how much these women make. And I imagine a lot of it's like YouTube, right? What I mean by that is there are people on YouTube that have become millionaires out of it. Like Mr. Beast, they think will be maybe the first internet or a YouTube billionaire, Mr. Beast. And there are people that are, have made millions of dollars. But most people on YouTube make nothing. And most people that make money make good money, but it's it's middle of the road money, not the millionaire money, right? So my guess is when you hear like Little Tay making $15 million in 2 weeks on OnlyFans, for every Little Tay there's thousands that are making nothing and doing terrible things trying to make a buck. No, it should be shut down. I would much rather see Marjorie Taylor Greene introduce legislation to shut down OnlyFans. I'm not in favor of the government regulating the internet. For years, the liberals in the government have wanted to regulate the internet like the FCC regulates television and radio. And I'm not suggesting that. But when you're talking about OnlyFans, you're talking about not just pornography. Pornographers are the lowest of the low, but you're talking about prostitution rings as well. And just like in the world of strip clubs, all strippers are prostitutes. And people that do pornography are also prostitutes. And it's completely unregulated. And it's like the wild, wild west. That's a much better crusade than what Marjorie Taylor Greene did yesterday with Massey. In my opinion. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. A lot of cars on the road, man. Oh my goodness. Lots of traffic. Just passing the Mar-a-Lago exit. my tail. I hate when people ride your tail. I'm not in the passing lane, so when they do that, I slow down so they'll pass me. Welcome, everyone. Sorry, I'm in a lot of traffic, so I'm just watching the road. I'm not happy with Marjorie Taylor Greene either. I'm just not. Just not. And I'll tell you, I know she's feeling a lot of pressure. I saw her on Eric Bolling's show. She went on Eric Bolling, and she talked about she's getting a lot of pressure. She praised Trump, but was ripping aides around him. I'm not sure who she was talking about. If she was talking about Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, I'm not sure who she was referencing. But, you know. Yeah, she's getting a lot of heat. And then there was a photograph that I saw that, I don't know if Marjorie Taylor Greene or Brian Glenn, her boyfriend, but they posted online a photograph of them at dinner, and she was kissing him. And maybe they do that all the time. I don't know, post photos like that. But to me, it seemed like she's getting a lot of negative feedback, and they were trying to look happy. I mean, I don't appreciate this sabotaging our great MAGA movement. Okay, I'm like 3 or 4 miles from the exit. Making good time here. It takes a while for me to get set up at the radio station. I'm already getting text messages from people. People send me text messages at crazy hours because people know I'm up. And, you know, I have friends all over the country, so people will text me from California, and it's like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. They know I'm up. Sometimes friends of mine are watching on the stream, and they'll send me a text while I'm streaming, even though I can't answer the text while I'm streaming. I don't mind. I'll read them when I stop. It's nice to have friends. Making very good time. I'm approaching the exit. Starbucks opens up at 5. So perfect timing. It's about 35, 40-minute drive at this hour of the morning. Then after the show, it could take 50 minutes to 2.5 hours, depending on traffic. To get home. I'm at the exit. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. On the next stream, I'll be in the studio taking live calls. Take a quick look at the chat before I go into Starbucks. That's right, mega MAGA. Absolutely. MAGA first, Trump, MAGA first, absolutely. That's great. Yeah, so I'm not alone in that. That's good to know. That is very good to know. Mm-hmm. Well, guys, I will see you on the next stream, all right? Make sure, yeah, he has a broken back, Giuliani, I saw that. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll be back shortly. Taking your calls in the studio. Take care. Thanks for watching.